such a treat for me. I mean, look, I see two great faces there, but look at that little baby fox. Let me introduce somebody who, people like you are my hero, Kelly. This is Kelly Simonetti. She's the founder and director of Antler Ridge Wildlife Sanctuary in Newton, New Jersey. I have long been a fan of Antler Ridge. So when somebody told me about some of the things you have going on, I'm like, you know what? I want to be like a new mouthpiece for Antler Ridge, because what you guys do is just so absolutely incredible. So it is a pleasure to have you. Thanks for doing this with me.
Oh, thank you for having us. You know, Antler Ridge has been around for a long time, and, you know, it's hard for us to get the word out as we like to do for the people to kind of share what goes on at the sanctuary. And many times we don't really have the partnerships like we'll be having with you now to be able to tell the public, you know, about what to do if they find wildlife, how do they handle them. You know, we don't want the public to think that this is what is a normal situation. You know, this little fox here, he's 4 to 5 weeks old, and what he's doing right now is he's calling for his mother. He's probably feeling a little stressed.
Oh my God.
Out of the incubator, but
I saw him on your social media page. Like, I saw him, and I saw him in his incubator. See, now here's the thing. If I found him somewhere,
right,
I might not know that he was a fox. I'm not going to lie to you.
Absolutely.
Like, look, a little puppy of some kind, and he could end up in my house with my two rescue dogs, which probably would not be, you know, the best thing. So I wanted to talk to you. First of all, I want to give I'm going to give everybody a little bit of a sort of a backstory on Antler Ridge. You guys were founded in 2000, correct?
Yeah, 2003. We moved up here in 2000. I'm originally from Morris County, so we moved up here in 2000. We bought the farm, 117 acres, and my passion has always been animals, and that was the idea, was to kind of get out of the city a little bit. And then we wanted to make sure that, you know, we were blessed to have such a great place. And I always worked as a volunteer in many other animal shelters, but they were more domestics, dogs and cats. And my background is a nurse, so I always took home the sick and injured ones. And when we moved out here to, we're actually between Newton and Blairstown, we found that, you know, we were in the middle of nowhere and lots of wildlife, and we needed to create a resource for the public, so that they were able to, like, find these animals, what to do, identify them, because the people that did find this animal did think it was a puppy to start.
Yeah, I would be like, a puppy, a husky, you know, that would be me. I would think it was a husky.
So they were panicked. Thank God they knew to take a picture. They knew my number. They texted it to me. It was 8:30 on a Sunday night, and they were like, "We're driving him up to you right away," when we identified what he was.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's great to have those connections so people have that resource.
Now, here's the thing, and it's so funny because you said, you know, it was my dream, and I'm a nurse and I loved animals. Some people think it's very easy. I had a relative of mine a couple weeks ago. Oh, I'm going to start a shelter or a sanctuary. Folks, I have to be honest with you. These are not things that everyone can do. It is very, very difficult. You guys are a 501c3 charity, which means supported by donations and grants, run by volunteers, which also isn't something that's easy to do. So I wanted to talk to you. We'll talk a little bit later about fundraising and how you guys do it. But tell me about, you know, you kind of touched on why you wanted to, how you actually started Antler Ridge, and did you just sort of come to this farm area, open it up, and let people know, hi, we're here? You know, every year now you care for over 1,000 animals. So how did people know about you guys, and how did sort of Antler Ridge kind of come to be Antler Ridge?
I started in the garage. I was still working we were still working, and I was still working full time. I asked my husband, can I take one of the bays of the garage? And I set up some cages, and I had some friends that would come when I was working, and they'd cover for me. And we kind of started it just as well, how bad could it be? A couple animals here and there, a few squirrels, a few raccoons, nothing big. And then one day it turned into, you know, you look at the forest for the trees, and I look outside and I thought, wait a minute, I have to go to the second bay of the garage, and this is getting bigger than I thought. And now my friends are like, Kelly, we don't even get to go out anymore because all we're doing is helping you feed squirrels and raccoons. This is getting a little ridiculous. You better find some other people to help us out here. So we didn't have a master plan. It just kind of grew on its own. And then one day, my husband came out of the house and went into the garage, and all the raccoons had let themselves out of the cages. And it was like a scene out of the Honeymooners.
They are tricky little bandits,
you know. And so we quickly then went and got a building built, and so we moved out of the house and we moved into the buildings. We went from one building to two buildings. Now we're up to 3.5, 4 buildings. So exponentially each year grew. And the good news is by word of mouth, people were like, oh, do you know, shush, we're talking. Do you know that this person has, they're doing wildlife, and wildlife being much different than domestic animals because you can't take them home. Right. So that was my biggest thing when I was working at the shelters. Well, that's how I ended up with 3 dogs and 5 cats and, taking the sick ones home and trying to manage them. But with wildlife, the good news is they all have to go back to Mother Nature and they all get released. So that brings,
I love him. By the way, I love him doing that. So you don't have to shush him because I love it. And I absolutely love it. I think there's no better sound for me, and there's no better feeling for me than being around animals, and especially like a wild animal. It's like almost, it feels like I'm going to church or something when I'm around the wild animals. It's such a beautiful, incredible feeling. I interacted with a wolf once, and it was like, I literally was like, please don't take her away. Because it was just such a calming feeling for me. And can't really explain it. I don't really know why. But I've often had that feeling that I just feel very one with animals. You can give me a snake, you can give me a rat, you can give me I'm just very, very comfortable around them. And hearing that little sweet little baby, make his little baby sounds, and especially calling for mama. Like now I really feel like I'm gonna cry. Like, well, you care for over 1,000 animals every year. So tell everybody, what kind of animals are we talking about? What kind of wild animals do we have in New Jersey that we may not know that we have?
So the state kind of puts these animals into 3 different categories. They put them in from reptiles to avians to mammals. So we take care of only mammals, and that means everything from mice to bears and everything in between. So the mice, the chipmunks, the squirrels, the groundhogs, the possums, the foxes, the raccoons, and goes all the way up from bobcats to bears. And there's many other more exotic type animals in the middle, like mink, that people don't realize that we have here.
I didn't know that. I had no idea. Wow.
We have mink, we have weasels, we have porcupines, we have fisher cats. So living in Northwest New Jersey, we have a big, diverse population of mammals. So it really is a challenge for many of the volunteers to be trained on handling a lot of these animals. And the other side is that they're wild. So, he may be cute and cuddly right now, but mind you, he did bite me the other day because he didn't know the difference between my finger and a piece of chicken, and he was hungry. And so when you're training volunteers, they don't get named. The animals don't get named. Everybody has to be careful of making sure that they don't get bit. So we train them. They have to wear heavy gloves. And we also have to be careful because many of these animals are rabies vector species. So we have to be sure that you have your pre-rabies vaccine. So God forbid you did get bit, we're going to make sure you go to the emergency room and have your bite wound taken care of. But we want to make sure that people are protected. And when you pick up that little baby, you think, oh my God, how cute it is. But it could be the same thing if you picked up a baby kitten or you picked up something out in the, more of like a feral type of animal. You got bit. You still have to go to the emergency room because rabies is deadly, and you just don't know.
And I think educating people too is so incredibly important. That's also why I wanted to have you on, not only because they're cute and, oh, look at these great little animals and look at this great place in New Jersey, but education, conservation, it all goes together. And I think sometimes people don't realize when people want to know what I can do, educate yourself and respect. and know
Yeah.
what the boundaries are. Now you have a busy
Sure.
season, and I think the busy
Yep.
season is coming up. So tell me about the busy season and tell me about babies, because when we initially had a conversation, you were really passionate and really adamant about people knowing what to do if they find a baby again. And it really sunk in with me because I would be the first person, baby dear, oh, Bambi, let me bring Bambi in the house. Like, because
Right.
that cuteness, I have to get out of that. And I'm going to learn from you, my new friend. That cuteness thing has got to get out of my mind. There's a proper way, Terrie, to behave if you want to really be someone who's one with the animals. So tell us about the busy season and tell us about the babies.
So we are approaching busy baby season right now. Just these past couple of warm days that we've had have caused a lot of these animals to, let's say, come out of their mini hibernations. You know, they have like a torpor where they kind of slumber and they sleep all winter. So all it does is take one or two of those warm days and they are out. So you'll see skunks that are out right now because what happens is they go mating and they're looking for their girlfriends and their boyfriends and they're hungry because they've been sleeping all winter. So the first thing we're going to start to see is that some of these babies are born in the next 30 days. And we want to make sure that everybody understands that not all babies have to be rescued. Like you said, with the baby deer, the mom will give birth. She'll leave the baby for up to 12 hours. You know, I always equate it to humans. Just think, you just gave birth to that baby and you had a hard labor. So what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to put the baby in the isolette and you're going to say, oh God, I need to sleep for a couple of hours because I was just in labor for 24 hours. And that's what happens with those mother deer is that, you know, they go into labor. It's not an easy situation because they're walking and they're having contractions and they have this baby and they're thirsty and hungry. So they put the baby where they think is a very safe place. It's usually sometime at 3 o'clock in the morning. And for them, it could be a really nice grassy area in the middle of a parking lot. They just don't get the concept. So, you know, everybody goes to work Monday morning and there's a baby in the little grassy median in the middle of a parking lot. And that's where people have to be educated to say, just leave that baby alone. They have camouflage. They are wired to just stay and wait for mama. And what'll happen is that the mom is right there. She's waiting till everybody either goes in or until everybody goes home. And as soon as they go home and the traffic ends, she rushes over, she nurses that baby, and she moves it to a safer place. So the rule of thumb is give it 24 hours, you know,
Okay.
as long as it's not crying, as long as it's not walking around, doesn't have parasites or flies all
Injured,
over it.
bloody.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
those things. Those are things that, yes,
Red
are
flags.
creating red flags. And yes,
Right.
scoop and run, you call us and you bring us. But, you know, the same thing with a baby squirrel. With all the weather conditions that we have, the wind knocks some of those nests right out of the trees. So that baby squirrel may have fallen out of the nest. And again, these moms are so passionate. She's not going to let it stay there. She's going to come down the tree. She's going to try to grab that baby and bring it back up to the nest. So as long as it's not, you know, freezing overnight, I say put it in a little box, put it at the base of the tree, give the mom a chance. And most of the time the mom will come and get it if she hasn't, you know, been injured herself in any way, shape, or form. But if obviously the baby is still there, the baby squirrel or chipmunk or whatever is still there after a couple of hours, then yes, you would call us and then you would bring it to us. So reuniting is paramount. You know, I say to people, if you left your child, you know, near the bus stop and you ran in to get a cup of coffee, you come out, your kid's missing, you're going to be frantic because you thought, well, this was a safe place. I'm coming back in 5 minutes. How bad could it be? And for them, they don't have the concept of time. So they're thinking, what happened? I left my baby here and now it's gone. And so, you know, there is a mourning effect that you want to make sure that these moms have a chance to get their babies back. And then that's where the rehabilitators come in. You know, if there's a mom obviously been hit by a car or, you know, some other reason that she's not there, then yes, that's our job as rehabilitators to take that baby in, nurture it, rehabilitate it, either put it in with others of the same kind. Like this little guy here, we're going to hope that I get some other baby foxes and then they'll go together as a group because we don't want them thinking that I'm his mother. We want him thinking that I'm mean.
He's looking at you with love in his eyes right now. I can see that.
He's thinking, you know what he's thinking? When are you going to shut up, lady, and feed me?
When are you going to feed me, mama? When are you going to feed me?
Exactly.
So doing all of this, I mean, doing all of this doesn't come at no cost. I think sometimes another thing that people think, and I try to tell people, no, it doesn't work that way. You know, being involved with so many animal rescues as I am, people think veterinary care comes free. They just think, well, you're doing this great thing, so you probably just have a vet and you take all these animals there. First of all, you need specialized veterinary care. So you probably just can't go to the, you know, the average vet down the street when you're going there with a baby fox or some kind of bird or a bear.
Sure.
So talk to me about how you guys take donations, how you fundraise, and how people can get involved. I often find with people that everybody kind of wants to get involved, and especially those that love animals. And sometimes we just don't know that it can be as simple as making a donation, which goes to help you. Have a 100% of donations that people give you guys go to care and rehabilitation of these animals that you take in.
100%, because we have no paid staff here. Everyone here is a 100% heartfelt volunteer. Many of our volunteers have been here 9 and 10 years. So we have a very low turnover rate. They are so passionate, but they give their time to come here on a 102-degree summer day to take care of these animals. So we rely on the volunteers so much, and then we rely on donations from the public. So our operating budget is well over $150,000.
I'm sure.
When we have to give these animals specific formula that they're growing up with. So a fox has to have fox formula, and a bear has to have bear formula. And that has to come from a company that supplies the zoos, and they don't necessarily, appreciate that we're a 501 nonprofit. They obviously have to make money too. So we were just analyzing some of the costs, and 5-pound bucket of fox formula is now this year, with all the costs of everything going up, is around $125 for 5 pounds. How long will 5 pounds last? Well, probably maybe 2 weeks. So, our budget is very tight, because we have to make sure that we do get in-kind donations. We do get, dog food, cat food, bleach, and all those kinds of things donated. But it's the things that we can't get donated that we have to buy. And like you said, veterinary care. So we do have specific veterinarians that we partner with. Many of them do donate their time. But one year I had to bring in a bobcat for surgery, and that's not, the vet did discount the bill, but that was probably a 6-hour surgery. And
the cost, I can't
the cost of veterinary bills. So, we were so thankful that he did discount, but I don't want to take advantage of them and their good nature in any kind of emergency, because that's all we have is emergencies. I don't have the luxury to say, well, we'll wait a week for this surgery, because that's why we have the animal, because it is an emergency.
Yeah, so it's not like the Antler Ridge Animal Hotel where they're coming to hang out. It doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. You're called because you need to be there for the animals that need rehabilitation, because that's really what it's about for these animals. So there's also fundraising, and this is what I would like to help you spread the word about too, is a lot of the cool fundraising that you guys do. And I love that you guys are partnering with a brewery, because I think that there's really no better way. When I first saw this, I was like, oh, deer and beer. Like, there's nothing better than that kind of thing. So talk to me about how you guys are together with this Sigmeister Brewery, and what you guys are doing for the month of March.
So Sigmeister has been so generous with us. They are in Hackettstown, New Jersey, and they've been there for a long time, and they create a lot of specialty beers. And Dustin, the head brewmaster, has known Antler Ridge for a while, and this year they decided to take the month of March and make Antler Ridge their benefactor for all the donations. So you go to Sigmeister, and I forget what the name of it. I think it's called Luminaria is the name of the specialty beer that they made.
Yes.
And so you buy a pint, and for every pint, Sigmeister will donate $1. You can buy a 4-pack. and they'll donate $4 of the 4-pack. So they have just been so generous, and never mind to do it the entire month of March, especially when St. Patrick's Day is in the middle. I mean,
Perfect.
we couldn't ask for a better day, a better
Perfect.
month. And they are an animal-friendly brewery, so you can bring your dogs there.
There's nothing better than drinking with your best friend too. They never talk back. You can have a second and a third, and no one's going to
don't tell you you're drinking too much.
It's the best. It's the best. The best.
So we're so grateful to Sigmeister for doing that for us this year. And you know, we're hoping that this will be part of one of the signature events that we can do every year, that March will be the month for wildlife, and looking forward to, you know, participating in this kind of fundraiser on a forward going basis. Now, having said that, we do have several other fundraisers throughout the year. We have an event at a winery, so we can switch. If you're not a beer fan, you can switch to wine, and that's in the month of August, where we are at Brook Hollow. Okay. We're at Brook Hollow Winery up in Columbia.
Oh, nice.
And we call that Under the Tuscan Sun, because we sit outside. It's a magnificent Italian, traditional Italian 7-course dinner, many different kinds of pastas, and of course, the most best wine in the world, because it's grown and made in New Jersey. So we have that fundraiser. In October, we have a big fundraiser for breast cancer awareness. Okay. And then in December, we have our big holiday bazaar. So we count on these fundraisers to really kind of underpin our budget, so that we do have, you know, some cash in the bank, so that when we do start our season, we've got enough so that we can kick the season off. And then throughout the year, people will, when they bring us an animal, they'll give us a donation. And then we do have some other small events that we'll do, but those are kind of local to whatever's happening.
I love that. I'm thinking in the coming year, we have to figure out some kind of WDHA fund partnership to do something. Our listeners are wonderful. Here's what I can say about our listeners. They're so animal passionate, and they don't mind drinking beer and wine. That I can attest to. So yeah, we'll definitely think of something cool to do with you guys. I love that you guys have these special, you know, all these special programs, you know, coming up. And what can the average person do, you know, on a daily basis? Is there something we can do to help conservation? You know, I've spoken to Jack Hanna about this in the past, and he's very passionate about it. He's come on the show with me and talked about educating the public. Conservation is key. Is there some things that we can do that we may not know, Kelly, how we can help out?
It's a great point. We have a schoolhouse here at the sanctuary, and it's called the Crooked Schoolhouse for Education. And we do programs for people, so that we take them on a 2-mile walk around the sanctuary, pointing out all conservation efforts that we do here. We do partner with the New Jersey Audubon to create some gold standard conservation efforts. Not everybody has 117 acres, so we can teach you how to create some little wildlife habitats in your backyard. We have the classes here. They're on Sundays, so the public can come. They can sign up for the classes. Again, 100% of the money for the classes goes back into the sanctuary. We can show you native plants, plants that are good for the animals. So what plants reseed themselves, what plants are great for birds.
That's just Rosie. Forget Rosie. Rosie hears the fox. Rosie hears the baby fox. So
they're all talking
to each other. It's I love that. I love that idea, though. I think that's so awesome. And you guys do tours. You do give tours.
We do.
I want people to sort of like find you guys. You're like antler-ridge.com. You've got an awesome YouTube page too. I love the videos on the YouTube page. Oh my gosh, I could just watch them all day. And I follow you guys on Instagram. You're at Antler Ridge Wildlife. So you can, like them on Facebook, very easy to find. Just Google on Facebook, Antler Ridge. So social media is so good for certain things, for some things. And, you know, partnering with you guys and seeing what you guys are doing is definitely a cool thing, because I love to watch the videos that you guys post. They're just so awesome. And I think they're really, really educational. And I think letting people know what it's all about. You know, some people may not understand. what it's really all about. I wouldn't want people to think that you guys were like a zoo or like an on display public place, because that's not what Antler Ridge is all about. You guys are doing amazing, amazing work. And I want to make sure that we get the word out so people know that if they're looking to donate to a great cause, you guys have been there for 20 years, 20 something years. And you're making a huge difference in that community, especially in a community where, guess what? 20 years ago, the development in that community was certainly very different than it is now. And when we take away their homes and their habitats and the places that they used to go, they don't necessarily just go. So where do they go? You know, there
is no place. So that's why the backyard wildlife backyard series that we're developing is so important, because many people, they have maybe an acre or a little less than an acre. You know, Morris County has a lot of opportunity to correct some of that urban sprawl. A lot of the corporate centers have the opportunity to change that, you know, layers and layers of grass and landscaping. They can limit some of that back. They can put in some wildlife habitats that are still beautiful. You know, people can still appreciate them. It's much better for the employees because they're not using as many pesticides. It's better for their budgets because they're not spending time with all these guys on mowers and blowers and really disrupting a lot. And then, you know, take it down to your own little backyard where we can have you set up maybe a little birdhouse, maybe a small little bee house, maybe a little water feature where that would encourage the animals to come in. And then once you start that little process, it really kind of takes off. And we're saying, well, Terrie, if you do it in your backyard, then maybe your neighbor will be encouraged to do it in their backyard. And the idea to keep it all natural is really where we want to be.
And people get into it. And people get into it. Yes, Rosie, there's a fox there. I know you want to see the fox. I get it. Rosie's like, come on, Mom. I've been doing this for half an hour. Let me up. Let me see what's up there. And I think that, and you know what? It's bonding. It's team building and bonding. Like that stuff is really super cool. We have more involvement from people in our wheelhouse of work when we're doing an animal event, because everybody wants to be involved. It's fun and you're doing something to help out. So I think that that's such an awesome, great and incredible idea. Look, I wanted to start this with you because I want people to know about Antler Ridge and I want to keep up with you. So this is going to kind of be an ongoing thing. I'd love to have you or, you know, someone from Antler Ridge come on with me. Let us know, give us updates.
Well, we can always, you know, if we wanted to do either a monthly kind of talking session, you know, whatever animal we have in care, we can do like what's happening at Antler Ridge on this Wednesday or whatever day of the week it is. And then we can also start to work on some public education series where people can really tune in and say, wait a minute, you know, they're going to be talking about, you know, what do I do about opossums in the backyard and why they're important, and you know, how do I nurture them as opposed to, you know, having deterrence for them, and you know what's really important for people to understand, because many of them appreciate wildlife, and they just have to learn how to cohabitate with the wildlife and not be afraid. Many people are just afraid and they don't know what they don't know. So part of that is just educating them. They can keep their distance. They can look outside the window. They don't have to worry about diseases if everybody's doing the right thing. And that's really what we want to educate people to understand, to live in harmony with the wildlife. Let's not have as much conflict going on. That would give us less work to do and then gives us more opportunity for education.
I love that. Kelly, it has been so awesome hanging out with you and Mr. Little Foxy there. I love him so much. See, that's the problem with me. I would be like, I love him. He's my fox. No, Terrie, you've learned a lesson here. You've learned a lesson. And I have to take a little trek up to Antler Ridge at some point when you guys are doing the tours. I would love to definitely take a tour.
We'd love to have you. Yep.
So
love to have you.
So interested. Kelly, thank you so much. Founder and director of Antler Ridge Wildlife Sanctuary in Newton, New Jersey. All the best. Thanks for hanging out with me. And we want everybody to head out to the Sigmeister Brewery in Hackettstown, New
Please.
Jersey, because they've
Yep.
got a great, great, great brew, and it's all about the animals for the month.
Yeah, and Terry, we have a table there. Our rehabbers are there, so if
Oh,
people
how
are interested
nice.
in learning more, usually on Friday and Saturday nights, one of our rehabbers is there. We have a couple of great videos that we can show people so that people can really get a little bit more feel for what we do. And we're more than happy to recruit volunteers while we're there at the same time.
Yes,
So,
that's definitely a great thing. People can look into that, and they can actually check that
yeah,
out on your website too, on
yeah.
how to be a volunteer. I want to drink with that guy. Can't help it. He just
Thank you
seems like
so
he's like this little fun rock and roll star making all that
Yes.
noise. I love him. Kelly, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All the best. And it was just a pleasure to have you on.
Sure. Thank you so much.